What's up everyone, Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have an album review for you. So yet another release that we wanted to cover that came out on the 12th of November was the newest offering from Hyperdontia, Hideous Entity. This comes out on Dark Descent Records. This is the band's second full-length. They formed in 2015 in Denmark and Turkey. This is an international band. This features current and former members of bands like Decaying Purity, Sulphurous, Phrenolith, Burial Invocation, and Taphos. So a lot of notable acts, all bands that I own stuff by, and I pretty much like everything they've released outside of Hyperdontia, as well as their stuff that they've released through Hyperdontia. I have one of their EPs and their debut, Nexus of Teeth, which prompted me to search what Hyperdontia actually is, and that's what it is. It's a pretty fucked up condition where you just grow a lot of teeth. And yeah, I don't know. I bit my cheek like the other week, and that sucked. I can't imagine doing that like 50 times a day with all those extra teeth. Anyway, that's enough for the educational portion of this review. Let's get down to the album. This opens up with some of the sludgiest, dirtiest death metal I've heard since the last time I listened to sludgy, dirty death metal, which wasn't that long ago, to be honest. But right away, it just has a dirty sound to it. Like the production, I think, is a step up from Nexus of Teeth, which I thought was really good, but very, very muddy, but kind of like deliberately so. This kind of trims back the mud. It's more muffled in spots than muddy, but everything kind of comes through pretty well, except for maybe occasionally you kind of lose the snare, which the snare is kind of unintentionally back in the mix just because, you know, sometimes the guitars and the bass takes over, but they are very prominently heavy. And I also noticed that the vocals are less reverb drenched this time. They're a little bit more straightforward. There's still just a touch of reverb on them, but I kind of like that because it kind of gives the guitars more space to sort of take over. And well, they should. The riffs on here are just disgusting. While it does open up in sort of a Death Doom fashion, Death Doom really isn't the main thing in here, though there are spots of it. Pretty much Snakes of Innards, which is a horrible condition it sounds like, and Impervious Veil are the only ones that really have like some distinct Death Doom nods. Very like Finnish death metal style sort of riffs, very somber leads on top of that. But most of the time this is going full bore in the realm of Incantation, Morbid Angel, and Immolation. All bands I love, and all bands that this band emulates very well. I think what this album really does a bit better than the debut is there are a lot more dynamics. You get a lot of really cool transitions into different kinds of riffs. You get great chuggy riffs. In fact, I think this album is a little bit more chuggy just in terms of like there are breakdowns that scream a little bit more thrash metal just in terms of how the riffs are constructed, and then of course all the deep, dark, murky tremolo riffs that are all over this. They work out a really cool balance between those, and it keeps the energy on here kind of unstable but good. Like sometimes you really don't know where these songs are gonna go, but man, do they transition well into it. And I have to say, like, the musicianship on here is a step up. I think the riffs are way more intricate. The guitar tone, again, less muddy this time, so the riffs kind of stand out. And they have a really interesting lead tone. It's very squawky and very dissonant, but they do craft some really cool leads. Of course, you have your standard dive bombs and such, and like atmospheric dissonance, but you get some really cool leads, and I think the lead tone kind of reminds me of that really squawky, dirty sounding lead tone that's on all of Cerebral Rot's material. Now, most of these songs are a little bit longer. They're kind of that 5 to 6 minute range. What's cool is the pacing and sort of balance of songs on here. You get short, aggressive songs like Wretched Mockery of Creation and Coils of Wrath, which are just short, but more aggressive, more out front in terms of just like disgusting riffs, more blast beats. And then you get songs that are definitely more like of an adventure in terms of just kind of going through different styles of death metal, like Beast Within or Trapped in the Void, where both those songs really just kind of take a journey and go through just tons of different dynamics. Really awesome riffing, lots of cool like crawling leads and such. And something kind of cool they do is there's not much in the way of like samples or anything extra on here. Most of the atmosphere is created by the music itself, and that is generally just sort of a wall of like tremolo riffs or dissonance. It kind of gives you that sort of droning feel. And to kind of spice up a little bit more, I have to say the bass work on here is really cool. Now, the bass is actually kind of up in the mix too, so you can really hear a lot of the stuff, but there are sections where they isolate the bass and kind of just let it, you know, do its thing. There's actually some bass leads on here, and it's really impressive. It actually adds a lot. I don't really remember that being a prominent thing on the first album, but it definitely added a lot here. A big standout for me is the song Grinding Teeth, and of course, why wouldn't it have something to do with teeth? Because of this band. But that song is somehow one of the smoothest listens on here. Like, none of the transitions seem very abrupt. Everything is just super smooth, and it's just like this nice plateau of aggression and really catchy riffs on there. Like, I'm really shocked at how catchy some of this is for how dirty and ugly it is. And I love the fact that you can follow kind of the same groove to it regardless of the beat. Like, if it's at a blast beat or a groovy pocket, you're still following this nice solid groove because how they have the riff accented on there or the vocal cadence. It just works as like a just flat out smooth, disgustingly heavy song. And I gotta say, I swear this band was going through like a death metal checklist to make sure they got everything that people like about death metal on it, because just when you think you haven't heard everything that death metal has to offer, you know, the blast beats, the tremolo riffs, the big chuggy breakdowns, Impervious Veil brings in something that hasn't been on here. They throw in some dirty, sludgy D beats on there, and it's like, well, that's pretty much bingo on my, you know, death metal bingo sheet. What do I win? Hopefully another album in the future, because I really dig this. This album overall has a great balance of aggression and like sort of like doomy oppressiveness. It brings pretty much all the things I like about Death Doom, just in terms of the atmosphere and the sort of feel to it, but it's aggressive, like all the time. Like, it's too aggressive to just be Death Doom. It's not quite somber enough, but it has enough of those elements to make it less of a one-dimensional listen, because this is just layers and layers of filthy, disgusting thing. Actually, kind of like layers and layers of teeth, apparently. And this took a bite out of me. Like, this is a super nasty album. I kind of expected that just because I really liked their first one. And literally every band that these guys are involved in is fucking good. So, yeah, I'm not shocked at all that I really, really enjoyed this. I legit enjoyed every track on here, and again, it's paced really well to the point where tracks don't run into each other. And it's kind of nice because, you know, it still keeps its aggression. Like, you know, it keeps this nice kind of like adrenaline spike throughout all of it. And it's just a sick album. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. This is a banger. Not quite 4.5 range, just because I kind of wish the production, again, was just minorly tweaked. And I think some of that muddiness that's still left on there kind of hurts a bit of the riffs. When it gets down and chuggy, like, you can really make it out, but sometimes that wall of droning tremolo can get a little bit too murky. But I see this as an improvement over their first album. I thoroughly enjoyed the songwriting here. Like, holy shit, these guys know how to craft some solid death metal. Again, it's like bingo for death metal. It pretty much has every element of different kinds of death metal that I really enjoy, and they do it all extraordinarily well. If you were already a fan of this band, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to check this out. If you just love sludgy, disgusting death metal, you might have already had this pre-ordered. I know I did. I had it pre-ordered the second they announced it. But yeah, I recommend totally picking this up. I might even get a shirt just because that album art is fucking disgusting. His chest is throwing up demons. Wow, that's pretty fucking gnarly. But yeah, strongly recommend checking this out. Definitely go get yourself a copy and jam the living shit out of it. So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon if you would like to help us out there. Just check out the link down below. We also have t-shirts still available. If you would like one, hit us up on thrallsofmetal@gmail.com. Send us a message, put shirts in it, and we will get back to you and hopefully sell you a shirt. So with that, I thank you all, because once again, you all fucking rule, and we will catch you later.